Hey everybody, I'm Ethan Lloyd and we're here at Garaje Cultural here, owned by Amelia and Gabriel in Southwest Detroit to talk about some of the amazing things that this cultural center is doing. So we're here to learn more about Southwest Fest. We got some tacos from Los Altos. Yeah, we're just gonna dive in it, and I hope Gabriel's ready for me because I'm ready for them. So let's check it out. Hey, what's going on, Gabriel?
What up,
Ethan, how you doing, man?
Nice to meet you.
Good to see you.
To the spot.
Yeah, glad to be here. Awesome.
Welcome to the spot, like I said. This is our first floor, for real. So this is kind of like a little bit of a mixed-use space more than anything.
Yeah.
During the summer, like we have our summer program here, so we set up tables for the kids to do different workshops and whatnot.
I love
but
it.
also, like, it's just kind of an open event space too for anybody that might be looking to get something together here. It's, like I said, it's just a big room right now.
Yeah, and you know, it is a big room, but the attention to detail, oh my goodness, if you look at the ceiling, the details are there. Yeah. We have the vinyl records all the way across. Oh my goodness, I love the clash of colors. It's a very open space, and I love that, you know, it's for creatives, so it gives you room to creatively express yourself. You can transform it into anything you want to, I can imagine.
Later this month, we'll be having a Dia de los Muertos exhibition with a few different art installations, and it's exactly that, right? Like we have these walls that we can move around to hang up different pieces of work, or like you said, just kind of transform the space into whatever we really need it to be.
Now I see a quote right there. What does that say? What does that mean?
So this is actually a quote from a song that my grandfather wrote during the dictatorship in Chile. And the line is "Vamos ahora construyendo," which is basically like, let's all get together, moving forward and building up towards the future together.
I love it. Oh my goodness. So you can feel your grandfather in the room at all times. I love that.
Man. He's a big reason why we do the work that we do and why we have spaces like these.
I love it. That's amazing. So I did bring tacos.
Yeah,
so if we can, you know, transition into
I think my mom is upstairs as well, so we can have a conversation with her, eat some food, you know, get a nice little Southwest vibe going.
Good deal. Let's do it. All right. Cool.
So, Ethan, this is my mother.
Hey!
Amelia.
Hi, Ethan.
Pleasure to meet you.
Yeah,
absolutely. I love the space already.
Yeah,
Gabriel showed me a little bit so far. We are very impressed with everything that we've seen. Oh my goodness, I'm excited for these tacos.
Me too.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for bringing us food.
The least I could do. I had to show the proper respect for such a lovely place. So thank you for having me.
Come on in.
Absolutely.
Table's right there.
Awesome. All right, Amelia, Gabriel, we are here. First of all, my name is Ethan Lloyd. I'm the social media manager of the city of Detroit. And we just heard so many great things about your cultural space that we wanted to highlight you on our social media page and learn more about you. So today we have Los Altos.
Some food.
Yes, some food. Now, I don't eat meat, so the top one is fish, but I got you guys some chicken tacos. And we got some forks here, some knives here. We can kind of dig in.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem at all. So let's see how it looks.
It's like a little unboxing.
Yeah, a little unboxing, you know.
So today,
let's see here.
Thank you.
yeah, thank you for real.
Thank you for allowing us to be here. Oh my goodness. Now this looks amazing. So with that being said, could you guys just, you know, introduce yourselves? Tell me a little bit about what you guys have going on and, you know, anything like that.
Sure. So my name is Amelia Duran, and I'm the executive director here at Garaje Cultural.
Mm-hmm.
Garaje Cultural is an arts and cultural space in Southwest Detroit. It was originally founded by my father, Amelia Duran, who was a Latin American folk musician from Chile. I like to say that Garaje is kind of the evolution of probably almost 3 decades long of investment in arts and cultural work in Southwest Detroit, because this wasn't the first space that he founded. It's probably actually the 5th one in Southwest.
You can definitely feel the energy of your family here, the energy of your ancestors. It's amazing. And we're here with your son, correct?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So what is that dynamic like working, you know, mother, son in Garaje Cultural? Did I say that correctly?
Absolutely.
Awesome.
Yeah, you nailed it on point.
Right.
Yeah, there you go.
So I said, you know, broadly, Garaje Cultural is an arts and cultural center, but in some ways I feel like the work that Garaje has done over the years is kind of multifaceted. It's not like we did this one thing and that's what we're good at. We've been really invested in public art and curation of murals that represent communal identity that are done through kind of a community participatory design process through an initiative called Art on the Block. We've done festivals, we've done what I call exposure pieces, which is the summer program that my dad really led that was teaching young kids in the community, you know, visual arts, music, performance, dance, all these different kinds of layers of arts and cultural production and work that we've all done in kind of one space. And so, yeah, that's a little bit more background about like what Garaje has done historically. And yeah, like my father passed away, unfortunately, in 2021.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
So we've been kind of intentionally carrying on the legacy of his work for a while, even before his passing. You know, in some ways we were involved in this work organically as a family, you know.
It's really the family business for real.
In some ways, yeah.
It feels like in some ways.
Rooted
In some ways.
like capital, but in some ways that's really been what it has been. In some ways, is like the family kind of curating this space.
Yes, that is amazing. And I love how you touched on your grandfather and your father and how he influenced this whole legacy that's been established within Southwest Detroit. I'm sure he had a vision of where he wanted to see Garaje Cultural go, but from your perspective, carrying on that legacy, where do you see your space going in the future?
I think, you know, for us, being that we have been kind of in this moment of transition with his loss, we're still figuring that out, right? Like, I think intentionally for a long time, I was trying to be an intergenerational bridge between my dad's generation, my generation, and then my son's generation, which is powerful. What I would call like my next generation, right? Trying to make sure that there was inner relationships that were growing and building strong foundations for the work, the legacy work to be able to continue, but not only just continue, evolve in a way that then opens up space for the next generation to see themselves in that work and want to be leaders within that space too of arts and cultural production within a community setting. And so it's hard to say exactly where we're going. I think considering that now we own a space, you know, that was a big thing for us for a really long time, is that we were kind of hopping around creating spaces depending on opportunities that were happening with buildings, right? And so for us now in this phase, now that we own a space that has a large amount of land attached to it, we get to kind of dream outside of the box and envision what the next 10 or 20 years looks like here in a way that is more creative because it's land instead of a box of a building. So what we envision is kind of an arts and cultural campus here that has the ability to create kind of an economy that is circular with artists from the community and also just broadly Detroit, for us to be able to get the resources to be able to thrive in a way that is self-sustainable beyond just philanthropy and other resources that might be coming to us, because that's not always necessarily that secure. I guess I don't want to say, you know, like it's hard. It's a game that you're playing. So yeah, autonomy and self-sufficiency, I think, is our goal in the future, and creating a space that people can actually thrive in.
I love that.
On multiple layers.
And I loved how you said how it may not necessarily all be mapped out. And what I think that just attests to is the fact that your heart is in your work, because you're following your heart. Your heart takes you wherever it takes you, and you're trusting your intuition. You're trusting the love for what you do to take you in the right direction. And it requires a bit of faith. So, you know, I just completely love that. And with that being said, I kind of want to get a first bite reaction of the food before this food gets cold. You gotta try it out.
I was over here snacking on the rice.
I was nibbling a little bit on the rice. Now, I've never gotten a chance to eat at Los Altos, but Gabriel says amazing things about it, so I'm gonna get a first bite.
It's the spot to go to.
The spot to go to. It's like 5
like I said, it's the late night spot. It's a really good late night spot.
So I'll take my bite now.
Micheladas too. Oh my god. I'm not a fan of the micheladas, but they do have cantaritos too. I've had one too many cantaritos this summer at Los Altos. I'm not gonna lie to you. Yeah, they're really good. How was the first bite? Good. You said you got the fish, right?
I did get the fish, and what I like about it is the fish is not overpowering. They seasoned it very well. It almost tastes like chicken.
Word.
It's so good. I really love this.
It's probably tilapia.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of times when you're eating fish, it's either mojarra, which I'm not sure what that is, or tilapia.
If it's tilapia, it is very good. Now, speaking of food, I'm sure there's a lot of good food at Southwest Fest. Are there a lot of food trucks there? Are there a lot of vendors there?
Yeah.
Could you just tell us what Southwest Fest looks like for people in Detroit who may not have visited?
So Southwest Fest is a free, large-scale music festival, arts and music festival that we've had for the last 3 years now in Southwest Detroit. Its home for the last 3 years has been the Senate Theater right here on Michigan Avenue. And as far as vendors go, we've normally had about 100 vendors.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, we have about 100 vendors and between 35 and 50 performing acts. The first year we had 35 acts performing. Second year we did like 45. And then this past year we had 50 artists perform at the festival. So
every year it's expanding.
Yeah, I think the cap is 50 just because the team is not like a huge team. There's about 10 to 12 of us at the end of the day that come together collectively to put on this festival for the neighborhood.
All volunteers.
All volunteers.
All
yeah.
volunteers.
Yeah,
That's
so
amazing.
like none of us are walking away with any money from the festival or anything like that. It's not really driven. We're not driven by trying to walk away with money.
So
in our
what's
pockets.
driving you to do Southwest Fest?
Really like creating a platform for both artists and entrepreneurs in the neighborhood to, one, share space with one another, but to just kind of celebrate one another also. Celebrate, the artists in the neighborhood, the small business owners, all in one day together is really what kind of fulfills us at the end of the day. Like seeing that throughout the day is really fulfilling.
Garaje is rooted in Latin American culture and tradition because that's where we're from. But in some ways, when you migrate and you are in a community and you attach yourself to that communal identity, that kind of starts to shift a little bit. And so Southwest Fest, to me, it's the diversity of the festival that I think is really beautiful. It's acknowledging that, yes, Southwest Detroit does generally get classified as the area of the city that has a predominantly Latino population, but there's so many other different types of communities that exist in the Southwest Detroit community that are not Latinos, right? We have our Arabic community. There's also still lots of people who I grew up with who were Caucasian. They came from the South, from Tennessee and Alabama and places like that. So I think Southwest Fest is a really beautiful way of bringing all of our cultural traditions together and elevating the fact that there's diversity even in Southwest Detroit, much more than just
That's
Latino
important to
culture.
know that it is diverse at the festival, and I really like that.
And it's intergenerational.
Yeah,
too,
I was gonna
There's a
say.
space for the millennials and next generation to kind of lead and do things the way that they want to. And then there's also a space that's more traditional, that's more community centered, that is probably feels more like the things that we've historically done in Southwest Detroit.
Now, where in Latin America is your family from?
Our family's from Chile.
Chile.
Yeah, so the long country right there on the left coast of South America.
So I always like to say that I'm first generation on my mom's side and fifth generation on my dad's, because my mom is originally from Southwest Detroit, and so our roots with her go back 5 generations to Irish Czech migration, but my dad was from Chile. And then obviously growing up in a community like Southwest, I was able to kind of feel in some ways a bigger sense of pride in my Latinidad than it was in the Czech Irish culture that I don't really know.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so our dad was from Chile, and then Gabe's roots or my dad was from Chile.
Not my dad.
And then Gabe's roots then, get mixed in even with like Mexican or Puerto Rican culture, because his dad was Mexican.
So like on my mom's side, I'm from, like she just mentioned, Chile, and then Irish, Czechoslovakian. But on my father's side of the family, I have a Puerto Rican grandma and a Mexican grandfather. So I'm like 4.
The heritage is
like
strong.
the main are 4. Yeah, the main are 4.
I love that.
There's just a lot of mixtures happening in Southwest. And that's historical too, because there was the Irish population in Corktown that started, intermingling with the Mexican and Puerto Rican population. And so like you'll find that people in Southwest, they might, look more Latino or act, express themselves more as Latinos because of all the food and the things that are around us. But they're probably a mix of cultures themselves too.
Speaking on the origin of your family, how is it that in Southwest and specifically in Garaje Cotoral, you incorporate the culture of Chile here today?
We kind of live and breathe our culture, right?
Absolutely. Take it everywhere you go.
Right, and it does have, some nuances that are different than my dad's generation, right? Like that's the evolutionary part. But I would say that for us in particular, it's the connections that we still have to people in Latin America, and them coming here sometimes and bringing their music, their films, whatever it is that they're wanting to highlight. Sometimes it's even people coming wanting to do solidarity work, right? Like talk about the struggles that they have in their homelands. And in some ways, that's really what my dad was doing too himself, being that he was an immigrant coming from Chile, which was under dictatorship when he migrated because he was actually in exile.
Wow.
And so I think it's always there, like it's always at the root of what we do. It's just, changing and evolving because at the end of the day, we're different than that generation that came before us.
It's really trying to push messages to remind us where we come from, to remind us of the values that our families carried from our homelands.
Absolutely. And touching on that point, could you guys talk about the significance of this month and what that means to you?
As an organization, we're not to say that we're relatively quiet throughout the year, but the colder months are definitely is definitely the time for us to plan for the year ahead, to see what structures we want to set up for ourselves, like different events and programming that we'd like to see in the new year as we approach it. But that summer, as soon as like the weather starts to heat up, that's really when we touch the ground with the work that we do. Like this past summer, we had the GDYT were here with us for 6 weeks, right? And that was, it's only twice a week, really, but it's kind of intense once you're actually in it because like you're here with youth for 8 hours 2 times a week, and you're trying to see exactly everything that you're gonna do with them, and like, is it enough time? Sometimes you think it's not enough time, or sometimes you think it's too much time, and then you realize like come the 5th, 6th week, it's like, oh, we wish we kind of had a few more weeks with these kids to kind of continue to do the work that we've been doing. And then we also have like Southwest Fest at the end of the year and mural work too. Like we just finished this mural outside the facade of our building or on the side of our building. That was, really intense work too. So yeah, she jokes about it, but it's kind of quite literal when we take this month to really just like rest and recharge.
So Gabriel, can we, talk about your generation specifically and how they can utilize this space and how they're currently utilizing Garaje Cotoral?
Yeah, I think to kind of like go a little full circle with everything that we mentioned or that my mom mentioned earlier, as far as long-term visions go, like my mom speaks on having a cultural campus here, and that gets a lot of my peers and a lot of people my age really excited because a lot of us are the kids that started in some of the centers my grandpa created when I was younger. Like I learned how to play guitar at one of his centers, Compás, when I was 9 years old is when I started classes there. And a lot of the people that were taking classes, whether it be the street dance academy or the piano classes, the vocal classes, a lot of those kids are now people my age, 25 to like 21, and they're kind of coming into their own and starting to get a little bit more active in the community with their own things, and having a space like Garaje has been like transformative for us because even with the festival, like we have all of our meetings here and it's a place for us to gather and share new ideas. So for the long-term vision of seeing like a cultural campus here where we may have pods that are specifically for like photography or ceramics or the dance academies too, it just kind of really like motivates us to continue to do the work that we do and to elevate our own platforms so that we can hopefully one day carry on work like this and to just, maintain the ownership in this neighborhood too. Yes. That's a big component. A lot of the times these spaces where we're going to learn about like arts are not owned by people like us, they're not they're not curated by people that have actually grown up their whole lives here. You know, my mom has lived here practically her whole life, aside from the years that they spent in Chile. And me, I've lived here my whole life. I went to school here my whole life. So I want to continue to see people like me in spaces like Garaje, learning about their culture, creating new avenues and new platforms for themselves, and just continuing to evolve as artists and as people in their community.
Cultural sustainability.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And creating agency and power, right?
Yeah.
The vibe that exists in Detroit now with creatives is not for no reason. Like the ripples of the work that we did 10 years ago is now showing the seeds and the flowers that were planted, right? Like
it's growing.
It's
growing strong.
Yeah,
too.
like Mama said, like nobody can displace us here. And my generation feels that. Nobody can displace us, but also nobody can take advantage of the things that we're doing. You know, this is a space where we own everything that we're doing. You know, I open the space up to a lot of my homies and stuff. And a lot of the times it's like, they try to go to like studios and stuff, and like they can't afford to pay for like booking a space, right, to do a show or to do an event or even a fundraiser. And the last like year and a half, we've really just been trying to grow the community of artists here by just offering the space to them for them to do what they need to do.
We've only been in this building now 2 years, and again, 2 years that were very challenging for us because of the loss of our direct. Like my dad died, and we closed on this building 3 weeks later. And so it's been a lot to absorb, but 2 years later, we feel like we've like created the value that we needed to motivate us to keep doing the work. And now we're going to get into like the design and the actual construction and implementation of the next phase in this place, right? On this land that is not necessarily vacant, because there's lots of inhabitants that are, you know, species of trees and bunnies and ferrets and hawks and all these things. But trying to figure out how to develop it in a way that is also like in tune with nature and in line with it, because art is, you know, inspired in many ways by nature. And I think that the creative process comes from a much more genuine place when you're surrounded by it. And so that's the hope, is that, you know, we're not just going to fill it up with a bunch of cement and boxes and classrooms. Like we're going to think about, you know, fields of wildflowers, and like where are the rabbits going to continue to habitate, and how do we do that organically with the land, with nature itself. And so it's going to be fun. and challenging. Like we'll be hitting you up when the inspectors need to come through. Hey, K-City of Detroit.
We'll be around. Not hard to find. But with that said, you said it will be fun. I'd love to get a sneak peek of the fun if we can kind of look around and check the place out. That would be amazing. Let me clean up my mess real quick. So good.
Tu plato está con
Oh my
tacto.
goodness. So good.
Keep eating.
So let's walk around the space a little bit more, give you a little bit more of a sense of the different things we have around here. This wall is pretty much curated with different events that we've done throughout the years. Not necessarily in this space, because like as we mentioned, this is a new home for us, but just over the years at different garajes, you know. Now that we're in the permanent garaje, we hope to fill the rest of the wall with more flyers just like this.
Oh, I know you will. This is
different
amazing.
festival, like this is the first festival lineup, and then there's the other one, and we'll have them all throughout the space. And then this is kind of like our theater room, but also just a place where we can connect to the projector and have different meetings. We have a board there to brainstorm ideas, and it's really fitting because, like you mentioned downstairs, like my grandpa's presence is always felt, whether it be through the work or, you know, something quite literal as like a permanent ofrenda kind of mantle area where we have all of his awards throughout the years, and just his favorite shirt that he loved to wear like all the time, which, you know, the message there is pretty clear.
I love it.
On where my grandpa stood on that. And yeah, it's just a nice cozy space to brainstorm, share new ideas. You know,
it's
what I mean?
so nice.
It's cool because we do like to make it feel a little bit like a home. You know, again with that just like ownership of everybody here. Like you can come here during the week and see different people co-working, just chilling on the bags, chilling on the couch, just working on their computers. Getting some work done.
Gabriel, we've been talking about these bags. Can I just?
Man, you gotta try it. You gotta try it out. You gotta there you go, all the way back, right? It's the best. Yeah, they're awesome.
Gabriel, how do you get anything done like this? Oh my goodness. They are so productive with beanbags this comfortable. Yeah. That's really impressive, I think. Oh my goodness. It is so
definitely
cozy
a cozy
here.
space for real.
Yes. Man. Oh, it's so welcoming and warming. The hard part is getting back up.
Yeah.
And that is just lovely. So what else?
This is the space that we just ate in. That we had our meal, shared the meal at this table.
Right.
This is when it's time to not be so cozy, when it's time to get those fine details tuned,
Yes.
get everything really compact and ready to go. We sit at this table to be a little bit more serious.
Yeah.
This is mainly where the Southwest Fest group meets to help organize that festival that we do at the end of the year, every year in Southwest Detroit.
That's amazing. And I see all the amazing artwork
This is
all along the whole space.
An amazing piece that we had an artist that goes by the name Dark Lord Escada. He put this together for us, and when figuring out what it was that we really wanted to have in this room, again, paying homage and respect to our ancestors and also just leaders in the work that we do. So we have different figures that we have looked up to throughout the years all along the walls, just kind of there to remind us of the values that we hold, and the message that we're trying to put out into the world through the work that we do in our community.
Amazing.
So.
I love it. Yeah. And what's going on back here?
Yeah, so the rest of the space is actually kind of getting developed a little bit more. We are hoping to be at a point next year where we can have artists in residence. So this is kind of aligned with like that summer program that we had for the last 2 years. We're hoping to bring in artists from around the world to stay with us for 2-3 weeks at a time, maybe even a month, sometimes, where they can share their work with the youth in the neighborhood while also staying with us.
Having a place to stay.
Yeah, having a place to stay in Detroit, being in Southwest Detroit, and like I said, giving back to the youth here in the neighborhood and everybody that comes through the doors at Garaje.
Yeah, so very literally, it's not just a cultural space, it's literally a home for artists.
Yeah, it's a home base.
Yes,
it's a home base that we hope to expand to have more, like I said, the little pods, just more space open for us to create. And this will always be the first phase, the number one spot that we had here. So
I love it. Awesome. This is amazing.
And, art is such a big component of the stuff that we do. So I definitely want to show you before you head out of here a work of art, a big work of art, a big mural that we just finished this summer. So I think we should check it out outside.
Let's do it. Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, so this is the mural that I was talking about upstairs that I wanted you to see before you head out here.
Oh, it looks amazing.
This is a piece
it's so massive.
that we were able to bring back. He's like a brother to us in the family. He's part of the family for real. He's an artist that goes by the name Dasik. His full name Dasik Fernandez. He's an artist from Chile.
He did an amazing job.
Thank you. Yeah, he's sick,
goodness.
man. Especially with colors. Like he's really, really good at bringing out popping colors and making, kind of bending. Like if you look at it from afar, you can see that this is actually like pretty three-dimensional. You feel like the lines are kind of curving around with the covers.
Absolutely.
And now it's kind of easier for people to see where we're at. Now we have a big sign essentially that says Garaje. So
you've made it your own.
Yeah, we're really proud of this, and we were really happy to have Dasik out here again to help us kind of reestablish like our presence, because he was able to touch the last building that we were in.
Let me just say this: very impressed with Garaje Cultural. From the inside out, this has been an amazing experience. It's beautiful. It is massive. Oh my goodness, just the magnitude of this piece.
Yeah.
It's just so impressive. And I just think it shows the kind of work and the kind of love that you guys are putting in this place, in Southwest specifically. All right. So just with that being said, thank you for welcoming me in your space, allowing me to check it out. It was amazing to try the food with you.
Yeah, thank you for bringing the food as well, man.
Yeah, no problem.
And thank you for taking the time to highlight.
No problem at all, bro.
The center. I really appreciate it. My mom appreciates it as well. The whole fam for us. So
Yes.
Thank you for coming out.